Good morning, Cherries fans, and welcome to this latest edition here up the cherries in all departments of cherry picking. There we go. We have got to the right of me Matt Harrison. He is in his pink goalkeeper shirt from a couple of seasons ago,
Lovely.
and I'll tell you what, it is a nice shirt, that isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
nice shirt.
yeah.
Yeah.
But don't forget, we have got the shirt show coming up in late July.
We certainly do. We
So,
certainly do. So hit the subscribe button and you'll be reminded of that. Or if you're listening to us on the Talksport Fan Network, that means we're on Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe there as well, and you will see the shirt show, which will be done over a number of weeks as well. So that is something to look forward to. But we can't leave him out. Below me, we have got Manny. How you doing, Manny?
All good, all good, all good. Thank you. And all I can say is, with regard to Matt, it takes a real man. He's
to
pulled it
wear
off
pink.
perfectly. Yep.
Thank you. I knew you'd like it.
I think it's a nice shirt. In fact, I've got, it's not the same thing. I haven't actually got that goalkeeper shirt, but I have got a Ralph Lauren
Not many people have got this
pink
goalkeeper
shirt.
shirt because they didn't sell it in the club shop.
No, very true. Very true. It's a nice one. It's a nice one.
It's called Connections.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Or spending lots of money to actually get shirts. Rare.
Not this one, mate. This is Penny.
No, I like it, mate. I like it. See, vintage. Something that you'll never see anywhere else. Um, so, of course, the season is now over. We did end on a 1-0 defeat to Everton at Goodison Park. Bit gutting at the end. To be fair, we've ended on a run of 4 straight losses, but the season, there's a lot to be happy with as well, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just touching on the Everton game, I found that a little bit painful to watch. As you will recall, I was watching it with my eyes shut and through my fingers, partly because I wanted us just to grab a goal just to keep Leicester up, really. I'd like to have seen Leicester stay up. But, fate is in their own hands and they had 38 games to stay up and you can't always rely just on one game in football, can you? So, but yeah, overall, mission accomplished.
Yep, definitely. And Manny, of course, you was watching on of that relegation battle. Um, Leeds were out of it quite quickly, but the other two stayed quite active until the very, very end. Do you feel that the 40,000 Scousers at Goodison Park just got them across the line?
Never underestimate the power of the fans of a big club, especially a big club in dire straits. I would say they did. Now, I remember speaking to you on the on the other show we did on Monday about how they had to do whatever they could do to try to help their team. I'm one of those people, Craig, who doesn't really appreciate any kind of abuse of players, though, and I would definitely say that. I mean, I can't say I really knew what happened because I only saw myself the last few minutes because they had to obviously divert action to Goodison that day because it was that pivotal a game, and I was just concentrating really on the football because I think I was doing a watch along, so I had to keep the telly on mute. I couldn't really hear anything, and more fool me, I would imagine. I only hope that the Everton fans sort of come to a personal reckoning because the narrative of those fans is pretty much that big clubs should not be celebrating just staying up the way they did with flares being lit and everyone coming onto the field like that. I'm sorry, but I don't even think teams have done that in the past, even when they won the Premiership title or the league title back in the day. Maybe they did, but then obviously police would have to clamp down on things like that for reasons related to player and fan safety. So, maybe the Everton fans are going to have to sort themselves out, sort out their emotions, and we will see how they do next season. And a lot's going to be hinging on, the board and what they do. If no changes are made, then Everton are going to be going through the same cycle all over again. And if they do end up getting relegated, I shudder to think how those fans are going to take it. And you could see with the Leicester and Leeds fans, several of them, many of them were, defiantly saying we're going to come back up, we're going to come back up. But the anger that they felt was the more defining, emotion. And I think Everton fans, if they're not careful, if they don't learn from this, they could end up starting to feel very angry. And let's remember, hell hath no fury like a fan of a big team that gets relegated.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, of course, earlier on in the season, Everton, there was those horrible scenes, wasn't there, where they were chasing players' cars through the street. I know Anthony Gordon. I think that was one of the reasons why he left to go to Newcastle, wasn't it?
Matt, maybe you could take this one. I think, obviously, I knew personally that there was some talk about him leaving because he didn't want to be stuck in that cycle at Everton. But if, news like this is certainly, to me, it sort of makes a decision the right one, the only one. Why should he stay there and be a part of that crossfire?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, fans are allowed to have their opinion, and you do that in the stands. I don't really agree with fans, approaching players in that kind of manner.
Yeah.
And if I had been him, no matter how much I loved the club or was fond of the club, I think that would drive me away. We pay money to go into the stadiums, so we're entitled to have our say, but not to act like that. And I think what Manny was saying and yourself, I think that was the driving point that made him seek the transfer out of there. And you can't blame the guy, really, can you? Plus, not only that, he's signed for a very, very good project, which is now got European Champions League football. So, rather than scrapping at the bottom, he's now going to be playing in the Elite League next season. So,
Yeah.
In terms of Anthony Gordon himself, if they've done him a favour in some respects, haven't
Well, exactly.
they? From the other angle, but it's Floyd was there on Sunday. He went up, and he said to me that the atmosphere in there from the home fans was absolutely electric. So, like Manny was saying, they definitely gave him a hand get across that finishing line. They were definitely their 12th man. Were Bournemouth at their best? No. Could Bournemouth have still beaten them if we were at our best? We probably could have got something out of the game, which could have been a whole different story. But obviously, it is what it is, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, most definitely. But we've had a good season, and let's be fair, Gary O'Neill deserves a lot of plaudits for what he's done. What would you say, Matt, are the high and the low points for us this season?
It's all scattered about, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can go right back to the very, very first game against Villa.
Hmm.
Did we expect to beat Villa that day?
No.
I don't think so. But we were quietly confident. And, so for me, picking up that first win on the first day is a high point. A low point, Scott Parker conducted himself in the way he did in terms of how he was publicly going against the club and its players.
Yeah.
That's a low point because, as we all know, it wasn't the results that cost him his job.
No.
And I believe that. Bournemouth's never really been a sacking club. And I think, the club would have been still backing him even after that 9-0 if he was fully behind the club and fully behind its playing squad. So that's a low. Then you look at a high. Gary O'Neill comes in and goes on a 6-game unbeaten run.
Hmm.
That's a high
Yeah.
point, and the high and part of that high point is him making the decision to start playing Neto. It was a big decision. So first game, he makes a big decision. First game, comes out with a clean sheet after a 9-0 defeat, after having your previous manager slate the players.
Hmm.
So he's picked up a squad that weren't bad in ability, but down in confidence.
Yeah.
Managed to switch him around. So that's a high point. I mean, big low point, I would say, was probably after the World Cup.
Yeah.
And like I think we said, and I think I vaguely remember saying, we never do well after a big break. We sometimes don't do well, or normally don't do well after an international break. So, we kind of had our rhythm built up again. We
Hmm.
dipped a little bit, and then we had those 2 wins against Everton. And I reckon if the season hadn't stopped there, we might not have had such of the mid-season lull as we did. Um, Spurs winning at
Yeah.
Spurs, what a high! No matter how Spurs have been playing this season, they're still class players, and for us to go up there and perform the way we did, um, it's something that will live long in that memory. And it's definitely a highlight of this season. Beating Liverpool at home, that's a high. Wasn't a great game of football, and Liverpool didn't take their chances, but a big win, big 3 points on the board. The biggest disappointment for me was, I say the biggest disappointment, but a big disappointment for me is getting 39 points on that board and kind of pulling out the deck chairs.
Yeah.
Um, Job was done, yeah, absolutely. But I still think with that run of fixtures that we did have, those last 4 games, I still think there was points there. And that's the disappointing thing, that we couldn't finish with a few extra points on the board. But overall, if you look at it, like I say, we've stayed up. Objective was to stay up. And no matter whether we finish 17th or 15th or 14th or 16th, wherever, that's job complete.
I completely agree with you on that last point. 39 points. We knew we were safe at that point. We knew that it would have taken some turnaround for us to go down. It wasn't mathematical, but it was that close.
Yeah.
And of course, one thing that come into that, and one thing I did mention straight after, was, believe it or not, we could get the points record that Eddie achieved, which was achieved when we finished ninth that season. And that would have been a great achievement in Gary O'Neill's first season, to actually have matched that, even match it. That would be great, or even get close to it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
To be fair, we just took our foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it looks like we're going to have an interesting transfer window.
Yeah,
I think, overall, and also with we've also had a sale of the club in that middle of all that as well.
yeah,
Um, the club's in very good hands.
hmm
I think Bill Foley has been very clever in the people that he has brought into the club, like Jim, the head of what is
Jim
he?
Fravola. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
say his name again.
Fravola. Jim Fravola.
Me and these exotic names, I can never pronounce them. That's why I always get used to it. But yeah, he's come in, and you know, I think respects the club for what the club is, and is people haven't wanted to change the club completely from top to bottom. That the old saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. They've got confidence, obviously, in the personnel that has remained at the club. Neil Blake,
Yeah.
Rich Hughes, both have had their criticism over the time, sometimes justified, more than often not. So they've kept those people on board because they know the football club, they know the Premier League,
Mhm.
you know. Um, so that as well, all of that chucked into the middle, has made the season quite eventful, but now is a real exciting future.
And I guess with everything, and especially when there has been so many changes at the board level, Manny, there's going to be a lot of outgoings, and there might be a little bit of an identity switch now, considering that we want to get to the next level, don't we? Really?
Yeah, it is. What you said over there, the identity switch, that is going to be key because a lot of the big teams, Craig, often every year try to look at their playing staff and try to move people on. City do it practically every year. They move on players who they believe no longer can quite serve the purpose or fulfill the demands that the club puts on them, and then allows them to leave for pastures new. And it seems that Bournemouth might be doing the same thing. I wouldn't necessarily go so far to call it an identity change because, yes, we've got several players leaving, including one whose departure is obviously very saddening and heartbreaking for you, Pete, for you guys, and
Yeah.
then at least a couple more who were probably, seeing their influence wane a little bit. But there is still more or less that core. And of course, on the flip side, you've signed Neto to a 3-year deal, and you've made it clear that this is where his future will lie and he might end up retiring over here, hopefully. And as long as there are the core players who are going to continue to do as well as they can, subject, of course, to performance review every season, I wouldn't go so far necessarily to call it an identity crisis. There might be some really big servants who served the club over the years. I think Stanislas is one person who could end up leaving. But again, a friend of mine always says the club is the star, and the players who come and play just play and perform their roles. They leave their impact, and then they just walk away. And it's also a part of life that sometimes you won't even get the to get a chance to say goodbye or a farewell you want. Take a look at Ashley Young. Two
Yeah.
spells with Aston Villa, 250 league appearances. Certainly played a big role this season when Matty Cash got injured. He never got a chance to make an appearance against Brighton, and I don't even know if he said goodbye to the fans, although maybe away from the fans he knew that he wasn't going to be offered that new deal. It's a cutthroat business, and I wouldn't go so far to say it's an identity change because even those teams who refresh themselves will do well to retain that certain core. At Arsenal, I mean, if we were to sell someone like a Bukayo Saka or Gabriel Martinelli or maybe a Martin Odegaard, there is talk of PSG coming in for him.
Hmm.
Then you could say potentially that there is a bit of an identity change because we're losing some of the Hale End boys who've come through and made their mark with us. But again, sometimes clubs have to do the right thing to earn success because everything moves on. Nothing stays constant forever.
Yeah. Completely. Well, that is really the impetus of this episode of cherry picking, and I think what we should do is look at somebody who has been incredibly instrumental over the past 20 years, who is leaving the club. His own decision, mind, but um, it's this man here, Joe Roach. So, do you want to take it away, Matt?
I can do.
Yeah,
Um,
go for it, mate.
let's go for it, Mr. Joe Roach. So outgoing head of player progression, Joe Roach first joined AFC Bournemouth in 2001 as a youth team manager, and over his 2 decades of service has laid the foundations for the academy, which is about to earn Grade 2 status. And Roach has brought many players through the youth system, some which have gone on to play at the highest level of the game. Brett Pittman, Sam Vokes, and Bailey Cargill are just a few of the names that Joe has produced. But Joe Roach was more than just the youth team coach. When Sean O'Driscoll left to become Doncaster manager, Roach took caretaker charge of the side with goalkeeping coach and ex-Wimbledon manager Stuart Murdoch. Murdoch was even interviewed for the role as manager, with the job eventually going to Kevin Bond, and Roach returned to his youth team duties. But Joe was often seen on the first team bench on a match day, helping out basically, which sometimes Bondy, O'Driscoll was sometimes on the bench helping out. But when Eddie Howe took over during the -17 season, Joe supported Eddie and Jason on the sidelines. Joe is pictured there with Brett Pittman at Exeter, and below was some of the other -17 squad. Anton Robinson, Ryan Gary, current development squad manager Alan Connell, and Liam Feeney. Joe has played such an important part in the rise of this football club. In some respects, he's an unsung hero. In some ways, the players he brought through have gone on to make money for the club at a time when funds were much needed. As we will all remember, the administrator actually sold Sam Vokes to Wolves for around 500,000 at a time the club were trying to survive, and he was a product of Joe's youth system. So yeah, really from all of us at Up the Cherries in all departments, we say a thank you to Joe for his loyal service, all his hard work, from the School of Excellence to an academy level system at the Cherries.
Yep, very, very true. And this is a big, big point for me, because without his hard work, of course, we got this new training ground that is being built at this moment in time, and is going to be state of the art. Is going to be able to attract more talent, but it's getting that academy into that place to be able to make that step in the first place. If you haven't got any players coming through at all, then there's not much point. But from what Joe's already done and the players he's brought through, that makes it more than worthwhile. So, he's been a credit to himself, credit to this football club, and of course helped Eddie and Jason, at a time when they were very, very new and fresh to the role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you so much, Joe, for all your hard work, and I'm sure that it'll always be remembered, all the work that you've put in. But of course, on to players that are leaving, and one we knew about for some time, really, now. Jordan Zamora. He's actually sent a farewell message to the club and its fans. Now, of course, there was a little bit of bad feeling at the time because there was, and misguided, I would say, is probably, fair to say that, of course, he retweeted it. It was probably Udinese's fault. But this is what Jordan Zamora says. So Zamora is set to depart the Cherries and sends the fans, family, and the club a message. Season officially over. First of wanted to say thank you to my family and friends for their support throughout it all. In a season that I will never forget, playing in the biggest league in the world. Something that I will forever cherish and hold tight to me. Secondly, after all that's been said throughout the course of the last 3 months, I want to make it known that I am forever grateful to AFC Bournemouth for allowing me to showcase myself and trust in me. Thank you to all the staff across the club. They showed me love and care. To the fans, thank you for singing my name to the rooftops and for the love from day one. Something so special and will never be forgotten, no matter what was said, I came as a 19-year-old boy and I've grown with every step. For that, I am forever thankful. Wish nothing but the best for the club and my teammates who have helped me since I stepped into the dressing room. Once a cherry, always a cherry. Excited for the future to continue developing and working harder and achieving everything I set out to achieve in this game. With God's grace and protection, I will. Number 33. And do you know what? That's quite nice, actually. That's lovely. After, I guess, he's still a very, very young man, isn't he? And he's got ambitions, and he wants to play at the very top of this game. It's a shame how it all happened and how it all evolved, and how he was basically frozen out of the side. But he's been fantastic. He's been instrumental in our promotion from the championship. He certainly enjoyed that. Can remember the pictures of him sat in front of
Yeah,
that sign, the promoted sign. And yeah, he's full credit, and we do say thank you, Jordan Zamora, as well, for everything he's done at this football club. I'm sure I echo the majority of fans when I say that.
yeah, I would agree with you, definitely. Shame, obviously, it came out the way it did.
Yeah,
But you know, when he played for us, he did give 110%, and I do believe that if he carried on playing, he would have given 110%. But at the same
agree.
time, I do agree with the decision of the club to remove him from the squad, because he would no longer be forming part of the plans for the future. But yeah, I mean, I personally wish him all the best at his new club. Um, and like he says, once a cherry, always a cherry. So good luck to him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Unfortunately, it's one of those where a player is misguided by somebody who is an agent, and unfortunately, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens. We've seen it loads of times. It won't be the first time. It's not. Well, it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. I'm sure we'll see it again. I tell you what. Shall we go on to? And this is sad. Shall we go on to this one?
Yeah,
Better.
got to be done.
Uh, Local man. I'm absolutely devastated about this. Absolutely devastated. You knew I would be, though, and it was gonna come at some point, and that time, unfortunately, is now. Let's be fair. A player isn't somewhere forever. We've had it with Brett Pittman, we've had it with Jan Kermigan, we've had it with players throughout our time. Sam Vokes, for example. Um, Name a couple more. Name a couple more. Nathan Ake as well.
You can,
Um,
I mean, in this day and age, you can name a lot of players. Longevity is not there anymore. It's not like when you go back to the 90s, and
yeah,
Fletch was always there, and then into the noughties, Fletch was always there. You don't kind of get that loyalty no more. That's not football. Money talks now. That's what football is about, unfortunately.
hmm
And money has talked on this one, I believe. But I don't really want to use this as a being a downhearted.
no, definitely
I want to use this as a thank you, because I've enjoyed watching Lerma play. Um, he could have jumped ship when we got relegated, but
agree.
decided to stay for 2 seasons in the championship, fought with us, got us back there. And I think it was his mission this season to make sure Bournemouth stay in the Premier League and leave
Yeah,
on a high. Now, whether he does go to Palace, if he does, in some respects, feels like a kick in the nuts, shall we say. But for what he's done for this club, I just want to praise the guy really at the minute.
Nobody can ever take that away, regardless of where he turns up.
Yeah,
If
I
he
mean,
turns up down the road, well, he won't go there in Southampton, but even if he did, for example, nobody can take away what he's done.
he's been a real asset to this football club, and his statement on his Instagram page yesterday was heartwarming.
Yep. Yeah, it
And
certainly was.
sad, emotional, to be fair. I mean, there's some images here of him now on the screen, and there he is with Brooksy. That's after he scored his first goal for the club, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Just what a player, what a player. And it's been a feature of our midfield for so long now that it will seem weird next season not seeing the number 8 shirt with his name on it.
Yeah, I think he's conducted himself so well.
He's
Of
matured
course, I did.
as a player here, isn't he? Don't you agree? I mean, he's
Yeah,
come
exactly.
and I mean, there used to be the running joke, with is Lerma going to get booked today? Because I think he had some stupid record of consecutive bookings, didn't he, in his first season? Like, didn't he? Like, literally every game I think he played, he nearly got booked, and he had a couple of suspensions and that.
Yeah,
But
he did. Yeah,
but over time, he's matured into a ball-winning midfielder, but someone who can also use the ball, create a bit. You know, um,
this has been by far his best season for this football club.
without a doubt. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, look at him. He's what, 28 now.
Yeah.
You think when he signed for us, he was what, 22, 23?
Hmm.
He's developed as a player, and he even said in his statement, didn't he? He came here to develop as a player, and he has developed. And Jefferson Lerma, who first walked through the door, is not the Jefferson Lerma that's now walking out the door. It's a completely, not completely different player, but he's come here as a boy and he's now leaving as a man, shall we say?
Yep.
And a real shame. It is a real shame because we've all pleaded him to stay. I think every fan has pretty much wanted Jeff to stay.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think there's a fan out there that's said a bad word about him recently.
I ranted about it on a video for about 15, 20 minutes, didn't
Yeah, yeah, that was a painstaking 20 minutes. That I hope if he watched it, it's probably why he left. In all seriousness, just what can you say apart from thank you and good luck?
Yeah, I think he's been brilliant.
Apart
It
from,
is.
hold on, sorry. Apart from if he does sign for Palace and when he plays against Bournemouth, I don't wish him any luck then at all. But other than
No.
that, I hope he gets. I hope I hope he's successful.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think even though it's it's gut wrenching. By going to Palace, he is going into that midfield where they've got a lot of quality. Palace could do some damage next year to a lot of teams because if they've got Lerma, Erebesieze, Michael Lise, they've got a lot of quality. Lot of quality. So, yeah, I can't do anything but wish him the very, very best. Apart from when he turns up at Dean Court and when we go to Selhurst Park, if he does end up there.
Yeah.
So there we are. There is Jefferson Lerma. So an absolute legend. Let's have a look at another player, and this one's actually been confirmed where he's going. And this is
Ah,
Jack Stacey.
yeah, Jack. Um, yeah, I like Jack as I've said before.
Yeah,
He's a good crosser of the ball. loves getting forward. Um, he's a good win back. He really is.
Yeah,
Um, and I think he's made a very good move, to be honest.
I think this is an outstanding move. And Jack has gone to Norwich.
Yeah, there's a little statement that Norwich put on their website, um, which states that Stacey has spent the last 4 years at Bournemouth, making 98 appearances for the Cherries, of which 27 were in their 2021-22 promotion winning campaign. Prior to his time on the South Coast, he featured in back-to-back promotions with Luton Town. He was named as the Hatters Young Player of the Season when they finished runners-up in League Two in 2017-18, before being named the club's Player of the Season the following year when they clinched the League One title. Bracknell native initially signed for Reading as a schoolboy before going on to make 6 appearances for the Royals. He also enjoyed loan spells at Barnet, Carlisle United and Exeter City before permanently moving to Luton ahead of the 2017-18 campaign. At his contract signing, Stacey said, "I'm really looking forward to getting started. It's a club whose ambitions match mine. One of the main things I spoke about with the head coach and with Stuart Webber is playing intense, fast, forward football, something I believe will suit my style of play. Absolutely agree. And something that I can fit into. Perfect. That sounds perfect for a player like Jack Stacey. Absolutely
Yeah,
perfect.
agree.
I'm really excited. I feel like I'm coming into my peak years, which he is. I've got experience from being around different clubs. I want to get back to the Premier League, and this is the perfect club to do that with." Now, with Jack, I don't know if I've told the story before, but we were going to St Mary's when we beat them the last time, the
Yeah.
season that we unfortunately were relegated.
Hmm.
Um, and we just got off the train and we're walking through to the ground, obviously knowing where the ground is. So we're going through the back street, not far from St Mary's Church, to be honest. And that we noticed there was this bloke following us. We kept looking about, thinking, is he Saints or what? So anyway, my old man started speaking to him and said, "Hello, you were right." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You guys going to the game?" And there's us dressed head to toe in like football gear, and we kind of all looked at each other and went, "Well, yeah." And he went, "Yeah, I'm lost. I don't know how to get to the ground." So we were like, "Oh, follow us, come down." And my old man started talking to him and said, "Who do you support then?" He goes, "Well," he says, "technically, I don't support either team. I'm a Tottenham fan." So you're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." He goes, "But my son's playing today." And we were like, "Oh, yeah, who's your son?" He's like, "Oh, Jack Stacey." Of course, then he started telling us about, how Bournemouth started showing interest in Jack and when they come down to the club to view the club and how Eddie Howe treated them with so much respect and, really made him feel at home. And, he was saying about how, to Jack, that this is the club for you to sign for. You'll develop here, you'll become a player, and really praised the club.
Yeah.
And we had a lovely sort of 20-minute conversation with him. Finally got to the ground and he had a seat. Can't remember where his seat was now. I think it was in with the Bournemouth supporters actually. Um, and we said our farewells, but he was chatting about Jack's time at Luton and how he started at Reading and things like that. So that was it was lovely to chat to him. Um, and like I say, I've always rated Jack. Um,
Hmm.
and I personally wish the guy all the best, all the success at Norwich. Um, to be fair, he's going to a decent football club. Um, a bit of a yo-yo, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, a decent club.
I think he's been brilliant. He's conducted himself well. He's filled in when he's needed to. Um, I do question, whether or not it would have been better to keep hold of Jack. But then again, there's that question as well of, do you hold back a player who is wanting to make more appearances, who wants to get out there on the field and make a difference for a football club like Norwich? And I think this is a perfect move for him. I think
I think
it's
I think this kind of goes back to last week, Craig, doesn't it? When we were looking at the out of contract players,
yeah,
and I said then at the time, I would probably release Stacey, and
yeah,
for two reasons, not because I dislike the player, um, but one for him, so he gets game time, which I think here he's potentially going to get game time,
yes,
um, and also it then frees up a space in our squad to bring more players in. So I think this is a good move for both parties. I'll always remember his goal against Blackburn. Um,
yes,
can't say I was there, but I was watching it because obviously it was COVID at the time. Um, and yeah, I thought under Tyndall and Woodgate and Parker, he might have got a bit more game time under those managers, but obviously with the likes of Smithy, who's a long term pro,
yeah,
um, he was always going to be up to the test to dislodge a player of that caliber. But when he did
mhm,
play, I always thought he was fantastic. So I wish him all the best.
yeah. Most definitely, most definitely. Should we have a look at another player that it's not been announced that he's leaving, but
There's been a sneaky little leak on Instagram,
there has been, yes, and
um,
that's
but
this
it
man.
does look like that Junior will be leaving us.
Yeah, yeah, and again, a model pro being plagued by injuries, unfortunately, for quite some time now. But when he has played, he's been brilliant. And in fact, one thing that I was speaking to a couple of Everton fans about was I said, "Oh, Junior Stanislas might get could well be his last game. Might get a run out. You never know." And they were like, "Oh my god, no, we don't want to see that." They were petrified. Junior Stanislas, and that goes to show how good a quality he is.
Yeah,
Indeed,
yeah.
indeed. I remember. Sorry. I have this bad habit of doing that.
Oh no,
My
you carry that, Manny. I was just agreeing with Craig. You carry on.
Yeah, that as Matt would say, that segues back to to that show where we were talking about players who could end up leaving, and I think we all came to the conclusion that with his games drying up due to injuries, I mean you can't really afford to be led by sentiment. And I was even talking earlier on today about how sometimes as a player you won't really get the fond goodbye that you would like, but
Mhm.
that is life, and sometimes you have to move on. And uh, the club obviously have to do what's right for them. And I only hope that he will find another club if he decides to continue playing. Um, 33 years old, could certainly find a decent championship club, or even, um, yeah, I think he might want to, do a Troy Deeney and
Yeah,
move to a championship club to try to just take himself away from the added pressure being in that goldfish bowl, and just try and look to enjoy the game again.
yeah, definitely. I think to be fair, it's actually funny, with regards to mentioning Everton, because I think that's the game that really stands out for me. But um, of course, he was pivotal in that promotion season to the Premier League the first time round. And he's always been there. He scores some spectacular goals, doesn't he? That's the thing. Can you think, Matt? Here we are. Here's one I'm going to throw at you. Can you think of a Junior Stanislas goal that wasn't special?
I'd have to pick penalties, I suppose.
Yeah.
There weren't many goals. I don't think that weren't special.
Mm.
He was a good free kick taker as well.
Yeah, very, very good free kick taker.
You know, so from set pieces, he was really. I mean, to say, I'm trying to remember a bad goal from him. You know, is there even such a thing as a bad goal?
No,
Not
there
from
isn't.
Junior
They
Pallister.
all count.
They all
They all
count.
count.
They do,
They all
yeah.
count. So, yeah, no, I think we should keep this on the topic of favourite goals.
Yes. That's what I mean, though. Is to be fair, there was
What you're
no
trying
goal
to say
goal that
is
was scrappy, really.
what I'm trying to say is can you remember a tap in? I'm sure there was, but not. You know, just with Junior, it just seems to be good goals that stick in your mind.
Exactly.
You know, did he score up at Burnley in the cup? Did he go on a run with the ball and beat a couple of men in the cup
Yeah,
tie?
I think.
Because I think I tell you, it's a difficult one. Yeah,
Was that the one during COVID?
yeah, it would have been COVID time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
did he pick the
Um,
ball up and beat a couple of men and score a nice finish?
I'm
I mean,
sure he did. Yeah.
the one that will always stick in my mind was one of his free kicks, and I'm trying to remember what team it was, and he just lofted the ball right over the wall, and it dipped right at the perfect time to fly in. I can't remember what team that was.
Actually, the one at Burnley away, which was the 9th of February 2021, that was scored from the penalty spot. But Sam Surridge got the first goal. And if I'm
Ah,
right in thinking, he had quite a hand in that, didn't he?
did he create the assist? I mean, there's been so. I mean, it'd be lovely to have all his moments just on a DVD, wouldn't it? You know, that you
It
could
would
relive
be, yeah.
his moments. Because you know, for a player in his position, you know, at times he was quite prolific. Um, but yeah, um, yeah, I can't think of. You know, I can only just think of good things about Junior, really.
You know,
Oh,
boys, it's one thing you talk about the goals. I'm actually surprised that none of you have mentioned one goal which led to one of the club's most famous results, namely the 2-1 win against Manchester United in 2015-2016.
Ah,
yes.
the corner, the direct corner. Yeah.
Oh
Now,
yeah,
do you know what? I remember. So was I behind the goal that day? I can't remember. Was I? Anyway, I could just remember him swinging that ball in, and you're thinking that's a decent ball towards the back post. Next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. Yeah, yeah. No, nobody else touched that ball. Nobody. That ball just flew in from his foot from that corner straight in.
yeah.
And
You
if you,
know, sorry, Matt. Please go
I
on.
was just going to say, if you can see it, do look it up because it was a fantastic corner, and that was
Mate, I
ironically.
know. I was watching that right now, and of course, Joshua King got the winner from another corner. It was sort of played along the ground,
That's right.
and he just side-footed in past David De Gea. And how long ago was this? Marouane Fellaini was playing for Manchester United.
That would have
Uh,
been December. That was December the. I'm going to say December the 8th, 9th, or 10th,
Close, 12th.
2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I've
that.
just had a,
Oh, sorry, Craig. Go on.
I've just had a thought of another one.
Is this a long thought?
No, no, no. This is
Is it a
short thought.
short thought?
Can you
Can you
remember
abbreviate
the?
it?
Can you remember the goal? And believe it or not, was this Everton where he struck it from way out and it
Oh, it was about
hit
30
the
yards
top
out, and it went
corner?
straight to the top corner. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah.
sure that was Everton, wasn't it? That he
I think that
scored
was the
against.
same. That's the same season as Manny was talking about the Man United goal. That was the 3-3 draw at home. I think we were 3-1 down, weren't we?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
think because
if I remember,
Arta passed it into him, didn't he?
yeah, yeah, and
Maybe
he
we.
he hit that. I can't remember if he hit it laces or whether he side footed it, but
I think he hit laces. I
because
think, but
Right.
it flew.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I've got that
And
DVD here somewhere. I must look that up.
yeah, another reason why I also wanted to mention the game is that if both of you will remember, I don't know if you will, that game was really emotional because Harry Arter started for
So
Bournemouth in that game just a
yeah,
few days after tragically he and his partner lost their child. I think
yes.
he played for almost the whole game before being taken off for what was his name? Um, yeah, Unano Kane in the
Oh
86th
yeah,
minute,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
and so it was wonderful that a match like that was almost decided in a way by a special goal. So I'm pretty certain Harry Arter will have cause to remember that with quite fondly, and will probably you know owe Junior a great deal in that respect, a special place in his heart.
yep. Completely agree. Completely agree. So that is the players that are leaving at this moment in time. You never know. There might be some more outgoings, but there's definitely going to be some incomings, without a shadow of a doubt. And two players have already been mentioned. And like I say, these are all rumours. These are rumours that are floating around the internet like wildfire at the moment. So it might happen, it might not happen, and you never know until it's confirmed. But here we go. The first one is Cherries are linked to former QPR star winger Bright Osayi-Samuel. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Osayi-Samuel, I think.
Osayi-Samuel, is it?
Osayi-Samuel, yeah.
Let's have a look. So Bournemouth and Leeds are in the picture to sign Fenerbahce's Bright Osayi-Samuel in the summer, according to several media sources. It is reported his current club, Fenerbahce, are valuing the player at around the £10 million mark and will listen to offers if the money is around that mark. This signing has been said as one to watch as it it's been reported that Leeds United are interested as well as Bournemouth and several other clubs. Um, so we carry on facts about him. He was actually part of the Blackpool Academy and graduated to their first team, making his pro debut in 2015 against Sheffield Wednesday. He was born in Akeja, Nigeria. He and his family moved to Spain before moving to England and setting up in Woolwich, London. Then moved to QPR in 2017, signing a 3-year deal. And then on the 15th of January 2021, he signed a pre contract agreement to join Turkish side Fenerbahce on a 4-year deal beginning in July 2021. November 2022, he's called up for the Nigeria squad for the first time.
Right, just to touch on the signing for Fenerbahce.
Yep.
Now the 4-year deal was set to start in the July, but because
hmm
he'd already had the agreement with the club, QPR let him go by the end of that January.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know if that was a disruptive move by the player or what, but he actually moved to Fenerbahce at the end of that month.
hmm
So yeah,
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because when he was at QPR, he was highly rated, wasn't he? And I don't think he's done too badly at Fenerbahce. He was relegated with Blackpool twice, but of course that was during that period of instability for their football club. Um,
Right.
yes, yeah, it was a sad sight to see a football club being at that time.
yeah,
Um, uh, anyone got any ideas how old the player is?
He is 25 years old. He was born on New Year's Eve, 1997. So I'll tell you what, this guy, I mean, he certainly would fit the age profile. And although the number of goals that he's scored, if you take a look at his career total for Blackpool, QPR, and Fenerbahce, it's 21 from almost 290 appearances in
Yeah,
total. So you'd think that for a winger, he, the number of goals he scored isn't exactly very, very high, but he also has been used as more of a wing back to provide possibly a little bit more in terms of assistance, and maybe some defensive cover if need be. So, I mean, at the age of 25, he can get a little bit better, but I would like to see him score some more goals. That's the one thing that would worry me. You'd think that if he was good enough to be able to be signed to play for Fenerbahce, who of course are one of the biggest clubs in Turkey, obviously they valued his talent, but even there with Fenerbahce, it's a question of near 100 appearances and only 3 goals. I'm not too sure what sort of a role the coach wants him to play. And he's played quite regularly, 31 games, in fact, in 2021-22. And yet, 21 this season, which I think might have been just, I don't know if it's over yet. It might be over, getting over soon. But he still hasn't scored too many goals. And I think if you want to scout him, you might really have to sort of look at him and find out what he can really offer the team, and maybe look at a few videos. And of course, he was called up to play for Nigeria last year, but has only earned 3 caps. I don't know if he's really been, given too many more chances. I suppose maybe a move away from Fenerbahce back to familiar territory could be appealing to him. And maybe he could start to, turn it on. Who knows? I wouldn't necessarily go so far to say that he could be the new Stanislas, but I think it's still a bit iffy about the goals, but maybe he's in need of a new challenge, perhaps.
this one, and to be fair, I said the same about Tavernier last season, and let's be honest, I was wrong about that. This one doesn't. It doesn't feel like a right move for me, because at the end of the day, we do have, abundance of wingers. So you've got Atara, Tavernier, Christie, Jaden Anthony. It's not really a position that we need, but he can play wing back as well. And that, I think, is where maybe Gary O'Neill is looking at. He's quite adaptable, quite fluid in that sense. But I just, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And Matt, what's your thoughts on Osayi-Samuel?
You might need to keep talking, Craig. I mean, I've already given my thoughts. I
Yeah,
think.
I think. Yeah, I think.
I think, yeah, I want to, to be honest, I want to have a look a little bit more in detail about the player before I would say a yay or a nay. But I kind of agree with what Manny's saying. I'm looking at his goal ratio. You'd expect a few more goals in return for his, for his amount of games in some respects.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit on the fence with this one because I don't know a lot about the player. And that's down to me for not doing my research. But would I be surprised if they signed him? Like Manny says, he's within sort of the age range. Would he come here and develop? Is there much more room for development? The thing that stood out for me though was the Fenerbahce deal, and how I think he may have caused some problems to get out of his QPR contract early to go straight across to Fenerbahce. But like I say, I don't know a great deal about him.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, mate. And well, if he has, worked his way out of that QPR deal and to get to Fenerbahce, is he a sort of player that we really want at AFC Bournemouth? We don't want disruptive influences, but I'm not questioning that there's not talent there, and I might be completely and utterly wrong, but I wonder if there's going to be better options that pop up during this window. But there has been another player that we've been linked to, and this one actually has been playing in the Champions League. Kondogbia. Kondogbia. Manny, of course, you watch quite a bit of Champions League football, but Kondogbia, what do you make of him and what he's done?
He came to Atletico Madrid as a replacement for a certain Thomas Partey, who ended up coming to Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And, he has, of course, slotted into the team. And, of course, he was a part of the team that won the La Liga crown that season.
Yeah.
I think since then, Madrid have sort of started to fall a little bit by the wayside. And there has, of course, been talk that maybe it's time for Simeone to leave because he's taken Madrid as far as they can possibly go. And Atletico, obviously having had a taste of winning La Liga, they've now set their sights on continuing to try and do as much as they can to keep challenging Barcelona and Real Madrid. And there doesn't seem to be too many signs of them being able to do that. Some of their players will be moved on. And this guy, with all of the experience that he has in the clubs he's played for, he's the perfect short-term signing for a year with an option for a 12-month deal if things go really well. But then that's it. It's like what we've done with Jorginho Frello this season when we bought him from Chelsea. He'd play till the end of this season, and I think he's exercised the option of a 12-month deal to play in the Champions League for us. And again, of course, when certain players get older, if they continue to exceed expectations and do really well, you offer them 12 months, year after year. I think with Kondogbia, if you can move in for him and offer him a chance to try and test his mettle in the Premiership, central defensive midfielder, this is a position where a lot of Frenchmen or players of African blood have excelled in the past. You think of people like Patrick Vieira, N'Golo Kante, of course, Partey, although he has dipped a little bit. He could very well be one of those players who will add a great deal to any team. And if you can sign him on a 12-month deal with a 12-month option and sort of help him add that, steel and bite to your midfield, I'd say, why not?
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
See, the thing is he's been linked to us from a number of different sources. He's tough tackling midfielder, rumoured to be a replacement for Jefferson Lerma. He's a defensive midfielder. 30 years old, probably not where the sort of signing that the club would make, but he has got a lot of talent, a lot of expertise. It's just a question. Of course, he's got this year left. What would be too much to pay for a player like this?
I'm glad you asked that question, Craig, because I did mention that a club like Atletico will obviously look to try and move on some of their players. I think when we signed Jorginho, I'm just going to take a look and see how much we got him for, because I think given his age and the fact that he had a year left, we certainly weren't going to have to spend too much money to get him. Bear in mind, we were supposed to try and get Moises Caicedo.
Yeah.
And Jorginho signed for Premier League club Arsenal on the 31st of January. That's the last day of the window on a 1.5-year contract. So this is a 1.5-year contract, actually. So he will definitely play for this upcoming season guaranteed, and he could have an option of playing till 2025. And the transfer fee was £12 million. So I stand corrected on Jorginho, and 12 million was a cut price deal for a guy of his experience and quality. Take a look at his accolades for Chelsea: Champions League, Europa League, Super Cup, and Club World Cup in 2021. He was a big part of Tuchel's team that time around. Didn't win an FA Cup or a League Cup, but who needs all of that when you've got such big trophies? And of course, with Napoli, he was a Coppa Italia winner, Super Coppa Italia, and of course, decorated international for Italy, a part of the European Championship winning team. So to get him for $12 million was a steal. And I would take a look at the season he had with us and say that although he had one or two games where he could have been, he probably played a little bit below his standards, and maybe, he showed a lack of stamina. I think with his age and experience, he started to understand what the coach wanted him to do. And during the last few games of the season, he actually outshone Partey in many ways. So a guy like Kondogbia, who has the experience he has, will also be smart enough to know the role that the coach will expect of him and how he should be able to slot into that team. And I would say that it would be good to buy him. And Madrid, obviously, if they are willing to let go a player who only has 1 year of his deal, they're certainly not going to stand in his way if he wants to leave and apply his trade elsewhere. It won't necessarily be you're not going to get him on a free transfer, that's for sure. But it won't be that exorbitant a fee that you will be completely put off by him. I would say, let me put it this way: if you are asked to pay close to 20 million for him, then it could be a bit of a rip-off. I would say 15 million or even less, 12 to 15 or less than that. Anything just above 10, go for it.
I remember, I seem to remember him at Inter years ago, and he's strong, he's tough, he's hard, and that has all the signs of what Lerma is. But of course, Kondogbia has got that experience on a different level, so maybe it's a case of Lerma, of course, younger player, very very talented player, and will go on to great things. Kondogbia has been there and done that, got the t-shirt, maybe coming to the twilight of his career, but can still do a hell of a job for this football club. So I think, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Again, like I say, it's all rumours that are circulating at the moment, but that is what is rotating around the internet. There'll be lots of rotating around the internet. There'll be players that we get linked to that will think, oh, do we really want to sign them? There'll be players as well where people think, oh, crikey, that'd be amazing. I've even seen, and to be honest, this is a load of rubbish, to be fair, but somebody on Facebook was saying, Lionel Messi wants a new challenge. Why don't he come to Bournemouth? That person, which put that, no, 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 it's not going to happen unless you've just gone and won the lottery. But even then, I think you might struggle.
Yeah,
It sells,
completely.
it sells some serious shirts, wouldn't he?
It would do. It would do, but at the same time, it's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm very sorry to let down.
If he wants to come over, we've got the number 17 free,
Yeah,
number 8 free. Take your pick.
yeah, exactly.
For him, it's either number 10 or at a pinch number 30 or nothing. 19 could also definitely work because I believe that was the number he wore when he first started playing for Argentina. But that's not going to happen. I think that is pot stirring in excelsis. So to the guy to the person who said that, knock it off.
Yeah, don't worry. You know who you are. I'm not going to embarrass you on this show, all right? But you have just you come out and said, oh, Messi wants a new challenge. Why don't we sign him? No.
All tongue in
We
cheek.
we are we are realistics here. Yeah, he probably was messing around. To
Just,
be fair,
just realised that I had changed my calendar over.
there we
Look,
are.
look who I've
Let's
got
have
to
a
look
look.
at the whole month.
Oh, there is Jefferson and Phil Bill. Hopefully one of them will be staying. Surely that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. Jefferson's already leaving, but Phil Bill is staying. Of course, we did our Hall of Fame, didn't we?
Well, you did.
Oh yes, I did. I picked the player. And shall we
Oh, the
see
players.
the players? Shall we see who won?
Yeah, let's bring it up. Let's do it.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, ladies and gents. And the winner is
Mark Pugh.
Mark.
There we go.
He joins the others in the Hall of Fame.
Yep,
So
certainly does.
this is the last Hall of Fame, obviously, until August. It will resume back in August when the season kicks off. And here is the percentages. Nearly 50% of the vote that
Yeah,
Pewee had. I had a sneaky feeling he would win this one, to be fair.
yeah.
Yeah,
I did, to be honest.
Craig, take it away. What what kind of player? What did you love about him?
He
Take
was
it
tr-
away.
he was tricky. He was skillful. He would cut inside players on that left hand side, but also he used to mix it up. Um, let's be fair. There's one goal that will stick in everybody's memory for forever, forever, and that is the goal against Bolton that got it all started, and that dramatic night. So yeah, he of course signed from Hereford for what was a very nominal fee at the time, and rose with the club. And at no point did he look out of his depth. That was the crazy thing about Mark Pugh, was he never looked out of his depth at any point during his career. I remember it was a game against Chelsea, and he was taking on players and turning them inside out, and just like they were playing for Bolton Wanderers those years before.
No
Um,
disrespect to Bolton Wanderers, obviously.
Oh no disrespect to Bolton or Wanderers, but that was Mark Pugh. There was no limit. There was no limit. Be it he was playing against a team right down the bottom of the pyramid, or a team right at the very top of the pyramid.
I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, he didn't look out of place, did he?
no,
Whether he was playing in League One or the Premier League, he always seemed to adapt to the league that he was playing in. One thing that's always sort of griped me a little bit is when sometimes you would see Pewee not in the squad and
yeah,
a certain player on the bench, and you just knew that player on the bench was not as committed as Pewee
mm,
and wouldn't give as much on the pitch if he did get on. And you're thinking, well, Pewey's not even on the bench. Um, that's that. I always used to think, why was this player ahead of Pewee? Because even on the bench, he was always a better option, I think, than the player that would get on there. Um, Gentleman, isn't he? I mean, I've had several conversations with him recently.
yeah,
Sam has had the pleasure of going out for a drink with him at a conference that they've been at together. Um, just a lovely, lovely bloke, and
yeah,
will take his time to always speak to fans, and you don't always get footballers like that. Um, And he's just a genuinely lovely guy as well. He really is.
He's never changed from when he first joined the club from Hereford all the way up to when he left the club. You know, he never ever changed. He always gave 110%. Of course, he went to QPR after he left Bournemouth, and even there, you know, fans of QPR speak highly of him. He wasn't there for very long, but
And Hull City.
and Hull, yeah, I forgot about Hull, but you know, again, 110%, and that was always the gripe when you did look at that squad and you thought, where is Mark Pugh? And you knew that the player that was not in the squad was one of, if not the most dedicated in that team. He was, you know, it was a special period for this football club, but Mark Pugh did stand out. And I'm not surprised by the result. You know, everybody knows how much I love Cookie, and I think, you know, he's brilliant. Tommy Elphick was the captain. He was excellent. He led by example. But there was something different about Mark, wasn't there? And there was something that just shone, you know. Um, and he was there from, you know, it was such a nominal fee. How much was the fee? I can't remember again. Wasn't it something stupid like 40,000 or something silly like that?
Uh in all honesty, I thought he was a free transfer, but I might be wrong. I think it might have gone to tribunal.
Yeah, I've got the details here, boys.
Oh, there we
He
are.
si- when he signed for the club, obviously you were in League One. It was on
Yes.
the 4th of June 2010 on a 3-year contract, and it was a compensation fee, as said, a fee of £100,000, which was decided by that tribunal,
Ah,
supposedly quite
yes.
excessive by the then vice chairman Jeff Mostyn. But I'll tell you what,
Worth his
that
weight
is
in
pound.
gold.
That has to be pound for pound, penny for penny.
Yeah,
The best
absolutely.
purchase the club could ever make.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, £100,000 to the club then when he signed was a lot of money. But when
Yeah.
you think of what he achieved at the club, like you say, Manny, pound for pound, penny for penny, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Oh, completely
I
agree.
mean,
You
think of
know,
how much money he's earned at the club by getting them promoted to the Premier League, and they paid 100 grand for him. Paid for himself 100 times over, didn't he? You
mm,
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's yeah, fantastic, and I did think it went to some sort of compensation tribunal type thing, but yeah. So Mark Pugh then is our
yep,
last entry for the 2022-23 season into our Hall of Fame. So if we just have one quick recap
yep.
to
Just
how
before
our
we go on to that, you know, just to correct myself, I did mention there 40,000. It wasn't 40,000 at all for Mark Pugh, but it was 40,000 for Harry Arter. So I had Arter's transfer figure mixed up with Mark's.
so as it stands, our Hall of Fame contains the mighty Steve Fletcher, Luther Blissett, Neil Moss, Matt Holland, Ted McDougall, Harry Redknapp, Ian Cox, Arthur Barch, Paul Morrell, John Williams, Darren Anderton, and joining them tonight is Mark Pugh. So that is how the Up the Cherries and All Departments Hall of Fame currently looks. And it will return in August, where
Yep.
we will be asking fans from next season to nominate 3 players a week to be voted for.
And if you want to know where to actually get involved in that, join the Facebook group. All you have to do is facebook.com/UTC IAD AFCB. Nice and easy. Join that group and then ping it in a new topic to us. You can do that anytime during the summer as well. We will get
Yeah.
to them.
Definitely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Great.
it has been an eventful season, and now I think it's quite nice to put our feet up and take some rest, but not quite, not quite. There is a special interview coming up.
Yeah, there certainly is. You want me to take it away, Craig?
You take it away, Matt.
Take it away. Okay. So, join myself on Saturday, the 3rd of June, this Saturday coming at 8 p.m. for a premiere of My Evening with Danny Thomas. Danny signed for Bournemouth from Leicester in 2001 and was part of the successful playoff squad of 2003. But we talk about the whole of his career from how he got involved in football to signing for Leicester, moving to us at Dean Court. Then we follow through the rest of his career, which actually, to be fair, is really quite eventful, including appearing in a certain European competition. But I won't give it away. You got to tune in. Right up until present day, and how he transitioned from a footballer into his current job role. So, a really good insight into his career. So yeah, join us on Saturday at 8 p.m. for the live premiere.
There we go. And to actually watch that, all you need to do, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and it will be appearing in the next couple of days as well. So you'll see it, it'll pop up, and you can actually set a reminder on there. So hit the subscribe, hit the bell, and it will even tell you when it is ready to set the reminder for. So there we go. It'll be a very, very good evening and very, very interesting evening as well.
Yeah, it was a good interview to do, and lovely guy, lovely
Yeah,
guy, and I learned a lot about him that I didn't actually know. So there were some surprises in there. So yeah, definitely tune in. Definitely tune in.
excellent. Excellent stuff. Well, that concludes cherry picking for this season. We will be back with more cherry picking come August. So we will be doing shows, like I say, throughout. We'll have the shirt show coming up. We'll have hopefully some other player interviews. We'll have all bits and pieces dotted around. Any transfer rumours as well. No doubt a little video will be made about those.
I'm sure Craig
Anything.
will find 5 minutes during his day just to make a random video, so you ain't gonna go hungry.
No, exactly,
But
exactly.
also in late July will be the 2003 playoff.
Of
We'll
course,
be
yes.
we'll be looking back at 20 years of that legendary final in Cardiff. So there's also that to look forward to. So yeah, a little break for a little while, and
Yeah,
then straight back on it.
yeah, most
Like I
definitely.
say, Craig's usually bored, so you're bound to have
The,
a video at some point.
the calm before the storm. I absolutely love it, gentlemen.
Yeah, there'll be a video every day now, won't there?
Hi,
Watch
I'm
Craig
Craig,
Ron.
and welcome to Up the Cherries in all departments. On that board, I just wondered what colour you think I should paint this wall that's behind me. How about red and black stripes? Do you think the wife will like it? Oh,
Thanks for reminding me. My wall needs a paint job too.
Oh
you
dear,
got
oh
you
dear.
got the white there, Manny. You just need a splash of white, a splash of red.
Oh yeah, red, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, red with the white. There you go. Job done.
Well, I think that concludes this season's cherry picking. So, Matt, thank you again and see you on Saturday.
Why are you going to see me on Saturday?
For the Danny Thomas interview, of course.
Oh, right. I thought that was just force of habit that you always say at the end of every cherry picking. See you on Saturday for the game, yeah? Down the golf club.
Yeah.
You'll be down there on your own, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes,
Exactly.
do please tune in, Craig.
Yes. And Manny, pleasure as always to see you. And no doubt we'll catch you up during the summer at some point, won't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can't keep me down. I mean, it might be nice to sort of take a bit of a break from the football once the cup tournaments get over, but we do have the Women's World Cup. I might possibly
Yes.
be, doing some work on that with a few mates of mine, and we might actually get to talking a little bit about that at some stage soon. But yeah, you're not gonna lose me for long, gentlemen.
No problem. Well, everybody, until the next show, of course, next season on cherry picking, we'll do other shows. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We won't leave you without. It's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from them. And thank you for joining us. And up the cherries. We'll see you in the next one.